So thank you so much. Another round of applause to our colleagues who have introduced the Global Skills Tracker. Very important, and I think it's going to be a game changer on how we can track skills going forward. We have run a little bit out of time, and we have backtracked a lot of things. So for online participants who are asking, everything is still on site. We are going to cover everything that is in the agenda, only that is going to be backtracked a little bit, but we'll try to catch up. As we promised that the day is going to be full of events and full of activities, we are still continuing to do this, and we are offering you opportunity to see what's happening. So, as you know, World Youth Skills Day is a UN day. It's not just celebrated by us in UNESCO, it's celebrated globally, and we have so many other institutions that are doing this in parallel as we continue to do this program. So to bring us one of the centers that is going to join us, that they are already, they've been doing something related to youth development for a whole week, celebrating World Youth Skills Day. I'm very pleased to invite just a moment. Oh, she's actually there. So thank you so much. I'm very pleased to invite Miss Lyza. Miss Lyza is joining us from Philippines, and she's been waiting for a while. Thank you so much for joining. She's going to introduce a short video. Please introduce yourself and tell us something about World Youth Skills Day. All right, I think there's a technical issue, but luckily she had sent us Plan B, which was a video. So I will just quickly introduce her in her absentia as we try to figure out what is happening. So her name is Miss Lyza Belle Lagura. She is the coordinator of the Iloilo Science and Technology University in Philippines. And this is the video of her summary.
Hello everyone and welcome. I am JJ, and today we are celebrating World Youth Skills Day, a global event that highlights not just what we know, but what we can do. Let's get started. What AI or digital tool can you use in your chosen skill or field?
There are a lot of available resources online such as ChatGPT, Gemini, and there are also online cooking websites and also cookbooks that can help us learn from the basics of cooking to more advanced culinary techniques.
The AI or the digital tool that can be applied in electrical technology is the IBM Maximo or the Google AutoML AI.
I will answer based on my class I enrolled here. So we know the have two AI. The first is the ChatGPT and the second is the Photoshop.
For me, I think we can implement machine learning into that basic machine operation.
So one of the most transformative AI skin tools in beauty care and wellness technology is AI-powered skin analysis using phones or tablets. These AI tools can analyze thousands of skin types and conditions and offering custom solutions for each individual, and this is something that wasn't possible before.
So what difference do you think will it do when you use this AI tools? What would you like to answer? Let's have Shad.
I think in basic machine operation, if you do it manually, it is very, very hard, very, very time consuming, and then very, very hassle. It's such a hassle. So when you implement machine learning in my skill that I learned, you can very well cut down the time, energy, and then energy and like you don't need to think about it. You just need to input the values and prompt to make the output that you want, and then you're done.
Okay, for me, before I know about ChatGPT, I have to take a lot of time to make a concept. But when I know ChatGPT, it makes me more efficient in the work or to a project because I can get a lot of reference in ChatGPT. It's so helpful for me.
This afternoon, we also have our trainers who are currently having their classes in their respective rooms. So we have Hannah here to interview them. Hannah?
Yes, Jay. Now I'm here with Sir Ray, and we will know how he integrates digital tools like AI in this skills training.
So we use artificial intelligence to incorporate in this digital training, we use ChatGPT to generate images relating to environmental awareness, and then use digital tools like Photoshop to bring to life the concept of the training. Before AI, the concept usually takes longer because the one making the digital art must brainstorm on how to create this certain material they want to create.
Now I'm here with Sir Ben, and he will share how can technologies like digital tools and AI can impact the field of mechanical technology.
Okay, so actually there are a lot of digital tools and AI tools we can use in the field of mechanical technology or in the field of machining. So one particular application of this AI tools is in the programming, on the CNC programming. So the only problem is that when using this type of tool, you must also consider the type of the machine you are using, the type of controller. So in order that that particular tool or AI tool will give you an accurate types of code you want to use in your program.
Happy WorldSkills Day!
Well, thank you, Priscilla. So hello, my name is Friedrich Huebler. I'm the head of UNESCO-UNEVOC, and I just want to say it's really a pleasure to see so many representatives of the UNEVOC network at this meeting today, both here in the room and online. To introduce the next panel, I want to start maybe with a little recap of the day so far. We talked about the fact that technical change is progressing at a fast pace. In particular, in AI, we have seen a rapid advancement within just a few years. That no one could foresee 10 years ago when WorldSkills Day was celebrated for the first time, or even 5 years ago when the Global Skills Academy was launched. We saw in the morning session already that AI is having a big impact on education and work. We saw there's many opportunities, there is a lot of potential for innovation. There's a possibility of personalized learning and research. We saw some examples of that. The productivity could potentially increase a lot with the help of AI, but then there are also many challenges. For example, there's a risk of an increasing digital divide, both within countries, but also between countries. There are questions linked to ethical use of AI and privacy. We have seen that teachers need to learn how to use AI and to teach AI. We're also seeing increasingly how some routine jobs are being replaced by AI agents, but even jobs with a higher skill set where we see already being replaced partly by AI. So some of these issues were discussed before the break, and now we're going to look at this from the practice. And I want to make sure is my microphone working? Okay. So we will discuss skills demand, trends, and institutional readiness. And for this, we have a diverse panel with representatives from different parts of the TVET ecosystem, and I'm going to invite them one by one to the stage as I introduce them, starting with Borhene Chakroun. Please, he's the director of the Division for Policies and Lifelong Learning Systems at UNESCO. That's the division that's in charge of TVET. Then we have Heike Kuhn. She is the head of the division of the Education Division at the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. And I wanted to mention that that ministry, also called BMZ, is one of two German ministries that have been a long-time supporter of UNESCO-UNEVOC, the other ministry being the Ministry for Education and Research. Then Ray English, where's Ray? There. From WorldSkills International. He is a board member for strategic development and a delegate for WorldSkills Ireland. WorldSkills International is also a frequent collaborator with UNESCO and UNEVOC on World Youth Skills Day and other events. Then Matteo Scarsi. Where's Matteo? He's in the back here. Matteo is head of mission for international relations at the Center for Studies and Research on Qualifications, or CEREC, here in France. And CEREC is also a member of the UNEVOC network. Then we have Amandine Deur. She is a chief product officer at Beck Market. It's a leading marketplace for refurbished electronics. And then finally, Ayeni Oluwatobi Douglas, who you've met already this morning, is our youth representative from Nigeria. So let's give them a big round of applause. And I went through their biographies and I did a little bit of math, and I found that combined, this panel here represents more than 125 years experience in areas related to TVET. So very impressive panel. So we have, let's see, what time is it now? We have about 45 minutes, so I can keep track myself here. So I would like to ask the panelists, as you answer the questions, to please limit yourself to maybe 2 to 3 minutes. If there's a time at the end, we could even take some questions from the audience. So now, starting us off, I want to turn to some of the panelists who are working at the global level, starting with Borhene. So Borhene, you represent UNESCO, and UNESCO works with all member states to advance TVET and skills development. And from this global perspective, what are some of the key challenges that you see for education policy to leverage AI for TVET and skills development? The turn is awful.
Very good afternoon and welcome. Also, I would like to join my colleagues to welcome you to this World Youth Skills Day. We have been listening in the morning and really very impressed by what colleagues, young people were sharing, and also the different session. I think the question on the policies is very critical, as this is what makes a democratic process and what requires in terms of public policy actions. And I would like to highlight 3 challenges that I see them coming from a global perspective. First, when we take a policy agenda, we can see that there are gaps in terms of the policies and in terms of regulatory framework. To give you a concrete example, some of the TVET strategies have been developed without having AI in mind, without thinking about what artificial intelligence will impact in terms of the learning, in terms of the demand for skills, in terms of the regulatory framework, in terms of the capacity of teachers, in terms of the skills of young people, assessment, data usage. So in many cases, and we can see this as emerging in different countries, that there is an approach toward tinkering. So the government will focus on teacher training and consider that's the strategy for responding or for engaging with AI. While at UNESCO, at least, we have been promoting a more systemic approach to look at the governance and the leadership, looking at infrastructure and resources, looking at the sustainable financing, looking, of course, at the capacity of teachers and of the learners, but also looking at education resources and pedagogies and curriculum and form of certifications. So that's, I would say, systemic approach is something that we see as a gap in many countries. And this morning we were speaking about the readiness framework, and that's an approach that we have developed to help countries look at how they are ready to engage with AI from a macroeconomic perspective, but also from an education perspective. The second gap is related to labor market dynamics. A few years ago, we have conducted a study that looks at how often certification, vocational qualification, for example, are updated. And the average was around 7 years. 7 years between the moment a qualification is decided and it is delivered and it is updated. And you imagine today with the velocity, with the change in the labor market, if you are updating qualifications every 5-7 years, when you enter the labor market, your skills are completely obsolete. And even the most sophisticated occupation platform like the ONET in US get updating only 10% every year. So it takes 10 years to have a platform like the ONET, which is one of the most advanced platform on occupations, and the demand for skills is updated. So we need to change, and this is a challenge. When you look at the economic fabric, we have heard from different countries, in economies where 80% of the economy is an informal economy, the demand for skills, understanding the demand for skills is already a challenge. But building that relationship with the labor market, building partnership with the private sector requires much more capacities and much more methodologies and approaches that are different from what we see today and what education systems are having. And the last gap that we see is about equity and inclusion. In many cases, we know that the most disadvantaged group are the ones that are benefiting less from the digital economy, from artificial intelligence. And the risk is that the most equipped, the ones who have skills, will develop further skills. And the ones who are lacking those skills will have less opportunities to engage in AI skills. And this is not something that is related only to the broader agenda. Is when we look at technical and vocational education and training, in many countries, the people who go to technical and vocational education and training are coming from low socioeconomic background. And that means that if the investments go to specific sectors or specific part of the education system, a large part of the population, a large part of young people will be in a way disadvantaged in this context and will have less opportunity in developing those AI skills. So these are three things that are important to consider: the policy gap, the labor market gap, and the equity and inclusion divide that we need to take into consideration.
Yeah, thank you, Borhene. And I want to come back to some of these issues later in the session, especially when you talked about equity and inclusion, which I think is indeed a very important problem. But maybe first to follow up on the policy gap that you mentioned. We have one representative of a member state here with Heike from the German Ministry BMZ. Can you tell us how BMZ is supporting national policies that promote access to AI and digital skills across different regions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Huebler. But before I do this, first of all, I want to say thank you for having us here today, because normally we are neighbors in Bonn, in Germany, in my country, with UNEVOC, and normally I always have come to be there at the WorldSkills Day, you know this, in the nice place over there. But it's so good to be today here in Paris and maybe reach out to another audience. And just for Germany, we believe in TVET. We believe in TVET for centuries. We have a long history. And now I'll turn to your question, because I'm from the Development Ministry and our partners are in developing countries, of course. And there we have this since the beginning of our ministries, which was in 61. So for more than 60 years, we have a long tradition. So now we are we have all the questions what we have raised before, equity, inclusion. This is all to our heart, and we really want to reach young people in developing countries who are often most left behind. And we heard this morning, and what I like about World Youth Skills Day, this is not the high-ranking officials, excuse me, Borhene, but there is a lot of young people sitting here, and they have a voice and they speak to us. And this was also so attractive for me coming here to Paris on this topic today. So looking in our partner countries, and we had this topic before, the demographics, what's going on in Africa, Asia, just to name two continents. The people are young and they need the right skills. So what are we doing as a federal ministry for development? We try to support this rapid digital transformation in our projects, and we have a long tradition, as I told you, in TVET. And I just want to give you two examples from our projects. What are we doing there in the bilateral work? For instance, in Lebanon, we support a digital learning platform linked to the Ministry of Education over there, and their learners can access training content via a smartphone and even without a stable internet connection. And this makes vocational education more accessible to everyone, even in fragile context. And my next example is, it's called the Fair Forward. For instance, this has reached a lot of persons. We offer trainings that specifically focus on skills for artificial intelligence, AI, for instance, in India, where we reach out in the rural area, and there are farmers, and they get information about vermin or pests, how to deal with this, and they get information about the crops. So just two issues on this, and the last sentence, and then I will stop. We also see a lot of interest in TVET and in AI from our partner countries. With this, I would stop.
Thank you for these good examples of how Germany works with other countries. Now I want to come to Ray. You're also working at a global level, but from a different angle. WorldSkills International is, of course, very well known for its competitions. And I was wondering how WorldSkills International is leveraging its global network to and its competitions to promote high quality learning that's also ready for AI. So how are you adapting to this changing world?
Yes, thank you. And WorldSkills International are delighted also to be here today to celebrate World Youth Skills Day. I think a key task of WorldSkills International is to actively prepare the global workforce for the age of AI by integrating artificial intelligence into key skill areas across our competition portfolios and national and international training models. I think reflecting on this morning's deliberations, I think we can agree that AI is a disruptor, but it is also an enabler. And I think we saw that through the videos from some of the WorldSkills champions. And I took from the videos, a bit like Borhene has just said, that those who are ready for the changes will benefit most. And how do we ensure access to that change for everybody? And if we don't, are we embedding inequity in the next generation? Critically, WorldSkills looks to embed digital and AI in global standards through the WorldSkills occupational standards. We do this by collaboration with industry, and we got great examples of collaboration with industry partners this morning. Also, we look to reform the curricula nationally and internationally, use the competitions as a platform for upskilling the expert network, constantly testing and scaling innovation across our global network. WorldSkills has a long history of piloting emerging technologies in future skills, big data, autonomous transport, Industry 4.0, and AI-enhanced healthcare. And I think one of the features of the next international competition in Shanghai in 2026 is the showcasing of AI and its impact on industry, education, and skills. I think competitions still rely on human intelligence. That's what we assess in our competitions. I think the use of AI is a tool in your skills toolbox. And as part of that toolbox, it is not everything. And I think that's one of the critical things in WorldSkills.
Thank you. So you talked about how digital skills can be embedded in everything. Let's feel free to. Sorry, and I realized my microphone is not on. Now it's working. So you talked about embedding digital skills in global standards, and I think that also is a bit related not to the demand for such skills. With that, I'm turning to Matteo to take a look at the demand for skills and how these skills are taught. So you are engaging in a lot of research related to TVET, and I would like to know what your research reveals about AI-driven skill demand and how qualification frameworks should change in response to this changing demand.
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you for the invitation first. Me too, as you, I'm more always in Bonn than in Paris, even if I'm from a French institute. Anyway, we can talk then later. Well, about the question, so CEREC, of course, given the expertise on the issues related to the link between training and employment, is particularly keen to invest in research in artificial intelligence, of course. We are interested in aspects like the impact on work, how to envisage the distribution of work between humans and machines, for instance, is a topic. Another topics can be, of course, AI in impact on employment, work organization, occupation and skills, of course, are all key factors that fall within our remit. But however, I have to say that the achievements that we have in this field are quite limited at this moment, because I think that this great transition to AI have to be still a little bit more stabilized in order to have some solid research results. Anyway, I would like to share you a couple of elements that are in the same vein, actually, of what has been already said by other panelists. The first one is about that the development of AI may become a factor of accelerating inequalities also in the workplace. So, for example, in companies, it is the most connected and digitally literate employees who have greater access to organized training and also benefit from the stimulating effect of technology for informal training. So I think that if you look at the company, it's very important to identify way to measure the level of digital skills of employees. Companies that have to be supported in order to develop skills appraisal processes. And I'm not talking about the big companies, but I'm thinking in my mind, particularly in small, medium enterprises and medium enterprises. And of course, we need also policies to stimulate this digital literacy in company. And why not the tools that we have seen this morning developed by UNESCO could be a way also for improve digital literacy, of course. My second point is about recruitment difficulties. So this is another point that has been evocated already. So many workers develop work-based learning practices, particularly many of them informal, because they do not have enough training offer, and I'm thinking in particular formal training offers for developing the last skills, for instance, about AI. So I think that work-based and informal learning is quite widely used in companies, also in innovative digital companies, for instance, to train high-skilled employees. So these two different points, even they are different issues, I think that highlight very well the need to adapt training provision. And of course, the pace of this adaptation, in particular informal training, is one of the major issues, as you said. I completely agree. I would like also to evocate what is done in France in this moment. So in France, we have the VET qualification regulatory body, which is called France Compétences, which is constantly working on identify evolving and emerging profession, so that the organization wishing to offer new training courses can benefit of a kind of fast-track procedure to registering their professional certification into National Registry of Certifications. And have the certification registered mean also, of course, to have public fundings and to support training with public funding. So it's a very important point, at least for the French training market, I would say. So this is useful for developing new training offer quickly, but we have also to ensure that this development goes in the right direction. So it's necessary to observe the dynamics of on the ground, the sectors, the professions, and the expertise of CEREX is also therefore support this type of observation in companies, work environments, and organization to make sure that, of course, to ensure that this coherency between formal education update and the reality of the labor market. Did I in a good time? I hope so.
Yes, very good. Everyone is keeping very good with time here, so going very well. I think we can catch up with the time that we lost in the morning. But you started talking about the digital skills in companies, and in fact, the perfect segue to Amandine, because you are representative of the private sector. So can you tell us, in your experience in back market, what are the digital skills that you see are most in demand? And can you also tell us a bit about how you see the connection between TVET providers and employers, and how this relationship can be used to respond to the demands that employers have?
Yes, so hi everyone. So I represent a company, Back Market. Behind Back Market, an industry, that is the refurbished electronics industry. But I would say that we have the same challenge everywhere, which is to train people to the right skills. To do that at Back Market on 700 employees for several thousands of people for the whole industry of refurbished electronics, or millions of young people when it comes to UNESCO or the TVET program, but it's the same behind. We need to train people to the skills that matter, right? And for that, it's so important that we collaborate well between companies and the public sector, because as, again, a company, we are very often at the forefront of the trends, and there's no denying that there's an acceleration of the needs and the trend. Like today's skills sounds like yesterday, almost like every month, every year, right? So there's an acceleration, so it's so important that we share the needs and that we get organized. And so to get to some tangible examples of what we observe right now as the key skills that is required to be successful in our industry, I would name two, and I will try to give some examples to be concrete. So one is definitely around the skills on data. But I want to say that it's not just data and how specialized that becomes every day more specialized. So data, there is a variety of jobs behind data, from data tracking, extractions, which are more on the engineering side, right? To data enablement, that is more what we call the analytics world, to the analysis that is helping then companies or people to make the right decisions. So even behind one big trend around data jobs, a variety of skill set to develop. And that we are actually trying to do as a continuous training program at Back Market every year. Just one example, because it touches as well to the whole industry, not just one company. We are a marketplace selling refurbished goods. So as being a marketplace, data is very useful, for instance, to set the right price. What is the right price for a refurbished device? But if you think about it, this is the same challenge or problem for the refurbishers and all the networks of refurbishers in the world. Their job is not just to repair refurbished, but it's then to sell their products. And so they themselves need to have these data skill sets. So this is a whole challenge and this new skill that is required on a very big chunk of the population. Second, very important skill, we touched base on it, but it's AI. Yes, but again, let's go specific. AI is a very big word. What does that mean to be proficient in AI? So what we observe at Back Market is that there are three very important skills behind the word AI. One is about using AI for categorization. AI is a very, very useful tool to put things in buckets, like to categorize thanks to machine learning that is way more powerful than the human brain. So AI to categorize, okay. And then comes AI to automate. So now that you bucketed things in the right categories, how do you make things more productive? How do you actually automate a lot of tasks, a lot of actions? But if you stop there, you're wrong, because AI is not necessarily always a tool that you can trust and to work in a very consistent way. So the third element around AI and skills is evaluation. And this behind, you have tons of different types of jobs, okay, from prompt engineering to a categorization manager and stuff like that. So again, I just want to say and highlight as a conclusion that it is very important that companies work very closely with programs like TVET, because we can tell you what are the trends and what are the specific needs for future jobs.
Thank you. And unless I missed something, I think you're the first person to talk about data skills. And now I'm wondering, maybe we can all try later to look at the global skills tracker to see if there's information on data skills, AI skills, and evaluation skills, to see if that is available there. So thank you. Now, finally, Ayeni, for this round of question. You've heard what employers are looking for, and I would like to know from your experience as a learner, what has helped you most So which teaching methods and support mechanisms have helped you most acquire digital and AI skills?
Okay, thank you so much. First off, it's such an honor to be part of this panel session. For me, it's actually learning by doing. All right, it's the same way you cannot, if you like, you can read about bikes all day long, but if you don't get on a bike, you will not know how to balance it, right? So one of the most important thing for me is to learn by doing. So let me give you an example. I remember when AI tools came into play and everybody was jumping on the AI trend. Most people didn't know about it, right? But I challenged myself to create a video using AI, right? Generate a script with AI, do everything with AI. I didn't know about AI, but in order to get into AI, I had to start doing it. I failed a number of times, I'm not going to lie, but guess who became very good after a couple of trials? Me, right? So one of the ways that I actually learn, especially in this day and age, is by doing it. Secondly, is by joining a community. Community is so important when it comes to learning because, like, remember I said I failed, right? And the people that were able to put me back on track was the community that I had. So there was this Discord community about AI. I'm like, okay, why not? So I joined, it was on, I joined it. And then when I had an error, I took it to them and everybody contributed and I got out of it, right? So I'd like to encourage you to as well, join different communities. You can't do it by yourself. And lastly, and that is with regards to Gen Zs, because we are very particular about content, consume bite-sized content. Sometimes knowledge that is too much might be overwhelming, right? So if that is the case, then break it down into like smaller bits, because I realize that that has helped me. You know, follow TikTokers that talk about what you want to learn. Before you know it, watching these videos, applying them, learning by doing, you would start applying these things to yourself. So yeah, those are the three major parts.
Thank you. So I found it interesting that you didn't mention teachers. Have they played any role in?
Yes, I mean the TikTokers, YouTubers, these are unofficial teachers, right? For me, because AI is such an online space thing. So yes, teachers play a major role with regards to everything that I know so far. So thank you to all the teachers out there.
Okay, thank you. Well, maybe staying on the question of teachers, yeah, back to Matteo now as our researcher here. So Iene gave some interesting examples. When asked about teachers, she referred to people doing TikTok and so on. But everyone goes through the formal education system, and we already talked about several times today that teachers have to acquire digital skills and be able to teach AI and other tools. So what do you see, what have you identified as some of the challenges for improving the capacity of teachers to introduce AI and other new technologies? And can you describe some suitable policy measures to address these challenges?
Yes, thank you for this question. So it's not easy for me to reply to this question, but because it's not specifically, we are not specifically expert on pedagogical issues. But anyway, it provided me the possibility to reflect on this. So I try to look what could be actually said about these points. And actually, what I'm going to say is something that we have already heard, even in people that addressed their speech before the lunch. I think that we should refocus a little bit on what could be defined as hybrid intelligence. So the process by which artificial and human intelligence complement and reinforce each other. I think that this definition applies very well to teachers and trainers, because the trainer is, or therefore the human being, remain for me an essential part of the learning process. And I would even go a little bit more far to say that a training institution that merely use AI to reproduce human intervention and make them available to learners on a digital platform is not exactly providing genuine training, to my opinion, or at least this activity cannot be a standalone process, and you always need the contact and the touch of the human in this process. At least this is my opinion. And I think that in this hybrid form that I am talking about, trainers become primarily responsible of the ethical use of the AI, and many of you already have raised up these points. And so they must know how to pass these values on their students. And so we need to know how to test, explore, take advantage of the AI feedback, reformulate and refine. And this kind of new relationship open up to a different approach, to a different paradigm, I would say, of learning, more iterative, more dynamic, more reflective. So I think the teachers are there to remind that AI does not replace thinking, it requires it. This is already said, has been said before. So cross-referencing sources, formulating a good prompt, recognizing biases, contextualizing the results, these are all analytical skills that have become essential, and teachers have the role to set an example for students, I think, on this aspect. So about strategies and policies, I think that some studies put forward the fact that vocational training is very focused on link between profession and qualification. But when we talk about the emergence of AI, I think that these new waves are generating skills needs that transcend profession, and its application affect virtually all sector and professional fields. So I think that to address it's clearly a cross-cutting challenge, and public authorities should work with professionals in order to codify these new skills and help develop a general training provision, regardless of their specific specialization and professional qualification. So talking about TVET, of course. And teachers have to benefit of this, maybe by tailored training formats that specifically apply to their mission, so to their duty of transferring these competencies to students. Of course, we need public funding for do so, and we have to accelerate on the acquisition of these skills by teachers, strengthening their ability to adapt to the technological change, of course.
Thank you, Matteo. I want to change the conversation a bit, moving away from looking just at